Okay, guys, today we're going to talk about the ego. What is an ego? Your ego is your conscious mind. It is the part of you that you identify with, that you consider yourself. If you say that someone has a big ego, then you are saying that the person is full of himself. Our ego is how we feel about ourselves. An egotistical person is a person that we feel that they think that they're better than everybody else. It's called the psychoanalytic theory. That portion of the human personality which is experienced as the self or the I, and is in contact with the external world through perception. Said a mouthful, right? Let me give you an example of an ego. An ego is defined as a view of one's self. The view that the person has of him or herself. An example of an ego might be the way you look at yourself, the way you think of yourself, that you think that you are the smartest person on earth, the self, especially with a sense of self-importance. Good morning, Rayfield. We're going to do some more work now on the ego. We have been learning about self-discipline. What exactly is an ego? Your ego is your conscious mind, the part of your identity that you consider yourself. If you say someone has a big ego, then you're saying that that person is full of himself or full of herself. There is nothing wrong with having an ego. There is nothing wrong with feeling important, but the ego needs to be regulated. The problem arises when it affects your decision making, when it affects your moods, or it turns you into a victim or underdog, or makes you feel superior to others in order to justify your behavior. Ego is the representative of you. The ego could be said to be a defense against your superego, and it has the ability to drive the individual toward inaction or bad feelings or harming yourself. So your ego has to be kept in check. Ego is defined as a view of the person has of him or herself. It's how you see yourself. An example of ego may be the way that you look at yourself. Another example may be that you are thinking that you are the smartest person on earth, the self, especially with a sense of importance. Here are some warning signs that your ego may be leading you astray. You think a lot, you listen to advice, but you don't follow the advice you are given. You never look for flaws in yourself, but you look for flaws in everyone else. You try to do everything yourself because you feel that no one can do anything better than you. You see some things as being beneath you. I'm better than that, and I'm better than them. Keep on going, even when you know you're going in the wrong direction, because you don't want to admit that you are wrong. And last but not least, you alienate yourself from people over time because you're smarter than them, you're better than them, and you don't want to be around them for that reason. Remember, those were warning signs that your ego needs to be put in check. Personality is different from ego. Ego is the individual's self. The word ego can be used as a unified part of one's personality, or in ordinary language, we call it the T. the individual's concept of himself. The self is sometimes understood as the core of your personality. How do we tell if a guy has personality? Okay, so this just relates to guys and personality, kind of like dating type things. So you are dating a man and his ego. He has 8 signs. There are 8 signs to watch out for. He talks about himself a lot. He protects himself first. He won't take your advice. He's not present. He's there for a boost. He always wants you to boost him up. He criticizes you often, and he's jealous. Those are signs that this is just not a guy that you need to date, because there's something wrong with his ego. Your ego is the part of you that protects you. It is your self-image and your self-worth. It helps create your concept of self. Sometimes, though, your ego can get in the way. Even when that happens, the concern you may have for yourself overrides what actually may be happening in reality. You do have a responsibility to protect your self-image and your self-worth, but you have to be conscious of your surroundings and reality. How do we control our ego? Our egos can be controlled by watching the warning signs and making sure that we are objective in our thinking and in our thoughts. We have something also called the superego. And the superego is there to give you a balance and a moral idea of reality and idealistic standards. This part of your ego is based on reality, which works to satisfy the id's desire and manner that realistic and socially appropriate. So basically it balances you. If you're standing on the edge of a cliff and you say, jump off, well, no, your ego, your realistic mind is going to say, that's not a good thing to do. Okay? What is the difference between pride and ego? The difference between pride and ego is a sense of self-importance, which can lead to arrogance. Whereas pride is a sense of satisfaction, the word ego and pride are so close in meaning that they are interrelated and sometimes become different or difficult to distinguish between them. The ego is a part of you that is modified, and you need to direct the influence of the ego related to the external world. What exactly does that mean, Dr. Carter? That when things are happening around you and your ego is high, you're feeling great about yourself, it's always important to make sure that you're living in reality. Is this real? Is this the right thing to do? Make sure you check your objectives. Okay? Let's say 12 ways to check your ego. Step 1, check your ego at the door. Step 2, surrender your need for control. Step 3, forgive and let go. Step 4, reflect on what's happening then and now. Step 5, be honest with yourself about others. Step 6, ask questions. Step 7, do not take to heart all praise you hear. Step number 8, admit when you are wrong. Those are 12 ways to check your ego. How do I defeat my ego? Okay, adopt the beginner's mindset. Check yourself. That was number 1. Number 2, focus on the effort you've made, not the outcome. Number 3, choose purpose over passion. That's a big statement. What is your purpose for doing things as opposed to just being passionate for doing it? Number 4, shun the comfort of talking about yourself all the time. It becomes boring and people then don't want to hear you. Number 5, take your pride out of the way. Take your pride out of the way. I'm going to repeat that one more time. Take your pride out of the way. Number 6, stop telling stories about yourself. There's no grand narrative about you. And once you've told someone about yourself, they know you. Number 7, learn to manage yourself. Remember, guys, that these are our lessons on self-control. And the first thing that we're learning about is our ego. Practice forgiveness and letting go. This is 5 ways to enjoy your ego and release your ego. Practice honesty and being open. Surrender. This is number 3. Surrender the need for self-control. Number 4, enjoy silent moments with yourself. I like that one. Enjoy silent moments with yourself. And number 5, practice gratitude. Practice gratitude. Now, some people ask questions. Is anxiety a form of ego? No, anxiety is not your ego. Being apprehensive about things and being in control, wanting to know the outcome of everything before it happens, is usually the definition of anxiety. And that is certainly not your ego. Your ego, remember, it is that internal part of you, yourself, the good feelings about yourself. How does our ego affect us? Well, research shows that our ego can be responsible for negative traits and also positive traits. Negative traits like manipulating and judging others and not being flexible and not being rigid and having mood swings. Those are negative things, human traits that go along with the ego. And then, of course, the positive is exactly the opposite. Praising others, being approving others, approving yourself, but being kind when talking and keeping yourself under control. Mature activity, believing in yourself, but also believing in others, is that way of positive human traits related to developing your ego. A healthy ego, it goes a long way to direct your willpower. It means that it helps you stick to your diet because you want to be successful. It helps you focus on your major projects so that you can finish your projects successfully. It can help you be resilient when things are going wrong. You can still be positive because you have a positive ego. Then it also will help you to develop and deploy properly your growth in areas where you have need for growth. Your ego is there to boost you along and say, you can do it. I have faith in you. We're competitive. We're trustworthy. We're healthy. We can do these things. We wish the best for everyone else, and we wish the best for ourselves. We can do it. Okay? How to develop a quiet, healthy ego. Number 1, I love this one. Realize that the world does not revolve around you. Number 2, acknowledge your insecurities to stop defending yourself. Number 3, build a distance toward your ego. Number 4, listen more and talk less. Number 5, realize that self-exploitation never stops. Number 6, 10 things you will get in your lifetime from your ego. There's a lot of them, so let's continue on our path to learning about our ego. This is a great lesson, guys. We're going to revisit it It's a lot being said, and I want to share more about how to control your ego in a positive way, but also to recognize when your ego is going in the wrong direction. And that's usually easy to figure out because everybody else will go in the direction too, away from you. Because most people don't like people with bad egos or All right, guys, so I came up with 5 techniques to learn to let go of your ego and enjoy life. Number 1, practice forgiveness and letting go. Sometimes people think you're weak when you forgive and let go. But guess what? That's a Christian trait, forgiveness. Forgiveness means that you're not going to hold it against me. You're not going to think about it anymore. We're going to be able to move forward on a fresh and clean slate. We're just going to let it go. That's a great technique to use when you have a big ego. You can forgive and you can let go. Number 2, practice honesty and being open. There is nothing wrong with being open and honest. Open-minded people and honest people are hard to find. They make very good friends because they're loving and they're caring. So that's technique number 2. Learn to let go of your big ego and enjoy life. Technique number 3. Surrender. That's a big word. Surrender your need for self-control. Well, what does that mean, guys? It means that you don't have to be in control of everything in every situation. Sometimes you just need to choose your battles. Sometimes you can let the other person just win. Many times, many of the events and activities that we are going through are not going to make a difference tomorrow. And if it doesn't make a difference, it doesn't mean that you have to win every time. So sometimes, guys, it's better to just surrender and let go. Number 4, in our techniques of letting go and enjoying life. Number 4 is to enjoy silent moments with yourself. There's nothing wrong with a private party. Private party. Nothing wrong with a private party. Enjoy silent moments with yourself. Like yourself, love yourself, and spend more time with yourself. Number 5, practice gratitude. Gratitude, boy, that's a very, very big word in our 5 techniques to learn to let go of our egos and enjoy life. Practice gratitude. Gratitude is a big word, and it is worth putting in our vocabulary as it relates to the techniques of letting go and enjoying life as it relates to our ego. So as we wind down this conversation about the ego, I need to tell you that there are 12 functions of the ego. And I know I've given you a lot to think about as it relates to your ego, but I want you to know what an ego really, really is. The 12 functions of the ego are to test your reality, to make sure that you're living in the real world. That's a part of your ego. Also, to keep your judgment in place. Your sense of reality, how you think, how you guide yourself. Judgment is very important as it relates to your ego and your sense of reality about the world and about yourself. The regulation and the control drive of your person, that human being, that self that's inside of you, has to be regulated and controlled, and that's done by your ego. Your affect, your impulses, your objective relations, how you perceive yourself, and how you react to others. Now, I've given you a lot, and we're going around and around and around. And as we twirl around this room, we're in control of our ego. We've learned a lot today, guys, and I'm so excited to share with you the departments of the mind. I'm dressed up today as our ego. Let's have a great day, Rayfield.
After all the things I've been through, I still have joy. Sing it over, I still have joy. Lord, I still have joy. After all the things I've been through, I still have, Lord, I still have peace.